Hi everyone, we are back with reJUVEnation, and we are previewing the CagliariJuventus match. And we have two guests today. How about Juve Therapy introduces himself first?
My name is Roman, and I run the YouTube channel called Juve Therapy. Thank you so much for watching this preview. Shout out to Monica for doing this one. Thank you for having me.
And we're moving to Malta.
Hi, so thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So let's go into Cagliari Juve. So we move into the 27th match day in Serie A with this matchup, and both teams needing to fight for something here. If Juventus are still fighting to be in the Scudetto race, then we really need to get these 3 points, as well as Cagliari fighting to get out of that relegation zone. They currently sit in 17th with only 22 points, and they have 2 games over Torino, who sits directly under them, still needing to recuperate those 2 matches. So it's safe to say that both teams have a lot to play for, and it's a dangerous game when we have to play someone fighting to stick around in Serie A for next season. And not to mention Cagliari's form since being under their new coach Semplici. They recently drew the game against Sampdoria, and then in terms of Juventus, we're coming off a rough midweek that I'm still trying to get over. But in Serie A, we fought back against Lazio for a 3-1 win. So that's kind of how we're leading up to this match. So speaking of that midweek match, considering I would say a disappointing exit, no matter how many people call this a rebuild. I don't think that you know before the season they sat down and said, well, whatever happens happens. Just go and give it your best shot. I mean, I disagree with that notion of having zero expectations, because at the end of the day, I think we're still Juventus. But all things considered, are we still in this Scudetto race? Like, what do you guys think? Can Pirlo fire the guys up to try to fight back in the race? For me, I don't see Pirlo as that type of persona to try to rally the boys together. Um, well, what do you guys think of that?
So I think it's a huge test of character from now on. It's not just Pirlo; it's the players as well. I think that uh, we are dependent on Inter dropping points, and also other than that, I think our title hopes really rely now on the Lazio verdict and the Napoli match. I think if we manage to get the points from those, we will only be 5 points away from Inter, which is doable. But you also have to win the rest of the games because now Inter have also won a tricky match against Atalanta, where we hoped that they would drop points. Uh, and and these French games, if you want to call them that, such as Cagliari, we need to win those. We struggled a bit in the beginning of the season, and these are the games that you need to win. No matter the performance right now, the 3 points are a must. And there's also the Coppa Italia final later on. Um, but mostly, if we're focusing on the league, I think that these games are the must win because you could take a draw against someone like Milan. I mean, they're playing great football right now, but against these lesser sides, we really struggled in the first half of the season. So, and Cagliari, as you rightly said, are on a great run of form right now, and they're fighting for survival, so they can't drop points either. So they're going to be motivated as well.
I like how you say, regardless of the performance, we need the results, because, that's always a topic of conversation throughout social media, in regards to, I call it like ugly FC versus sexy FC. And I mean, I still don't think we will go through how we think that Juve should and will approach the match a little bit later. But um, I don't think even with this, new football apparently that Pirlo is trying to employ, that we haven't looked good any, like, regardless of this new football. Um, so for sure, I'm always result FC. How do you uh how do you take it, Roman, in terms of the Scudetto race?
Uh, well, to be honest, I think it's too far away. I think it's just too difficult. It's not up to us at all at any point. We can still win every single game until the end of the season. But remember, we have Milan ahead of us and also Inter. So they also need to drop points as well. And looking at their form, looking how Inter are playing those matches, the tough ones, but also the easy ones, supposed to be easy, but in Serie A, not a single game is an easy game. But this is set up perfectly for Antonio Conte to win this. This is his title to lose, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I I hate to say it, but this is the reality. Lukaku is on fire. He has the midfield, which is great. He plays only once a week. Well, now we do as well, unfortunately. So it really is playing into his hands. However, fino alla fine, we never know. We never know what can happen. And with the COVID all around us, is a very unpredictable season. Injuries, some suddenly Lukaku may snap his ACL, and then what happens then? Maybe they will stop dropping points. We never know. But if we're thinking about this logically, and most likely, this is their title to lose. However, also if we play in Cagliari, when we play in Cagliari tomorrow, um, Raja Nangolan is playing for Cagliari. He hates our guts. So he will play the game of his life. And also, remember, our golden boy Daniele Rugani will also be playing against us. So they will also have some point to prove tomorrow. This will be a very, very tough game, in my opinion, especially coming back from this, elimination against Porto. So we have also a lot of games that we will struggle. And yes, result FC, I totally agree. It doesn't matter now at this point. It doesn't really matter how we play. We just have to get those points. But looking ahead, even beyond this season, what should we do? Should we just start building some foundation already now? Looking ahead to the next season in terms of, for example, playing Fagioli a bit more, maybe giving Dragusin a bit more playing time, or we just go all in for Scudetto. I think the club will go for all in for Scudetto. This is a must-win club every season, whether it's a transition period or not. But it's interesting discussion to be made inside the headquarters. What should they do once it's mathematically impossible to catch those guys?
Yeah, I think it's not the best time to, tinker with lineups and incorporate the youth, because we are not in any means a comfortable position in the table, and you are at risk for missing out on that top four. um no matter who we are, and that we're Juventus and that we have a good enough team, because I mean, I agree, we do have a good enough team. We had a good enough team to pass against Porto as well, no matter about the talk in regards to transitioning, and this team sucks, and management, and this and that. It's still a good enough group to pass that hurdle, um and make top four. But it really doesn't feel like, Atalanta is still up there, and then everyone's just close together with each other to play. So I mean, like you said, it's still a long journey, although it doesn't feel like it. But we always hope, um, because we're fans, and we're fans of a great club who, just when you think they're out, they come back like another head of a dragon. But just the realist side of me thinks, we're kind of done for, in Serie A in terms of the title. So you did mention. Go ahead.
No, and this is a very important point that you're making, because it's okay. It's okay to not believe that we're going to win. It's totally fine, because I'm sorry, when you're playing away to Benevento, when you cannot win against Fiorentina, when you cannot win against Verona 2 times, at the end of the day, they have themselves to blame. We as fans, we can hope for the Scudetto, but we can also be realistic, as you say. To, of course, we'll be pleasantly surprised. I think me and you both would be the first ones to say I was wrong. But this is the case, and I think that the fans are divided here. Why aren't you supporting the club? Like Morata said after one game, I think the Lazio game. If you don't believe us, don't bother watching us. I mean, I'm sorry, but you created this mess, so I don't believe you we're gonna win. But I still watch you because you will prove me wrong, hopefully. So when we divide the fan base, like either you believe, then you're a fan, but if you not believe, you're a fake fan. I think that is a very, very dangerous road.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, there was talk as well that I just saw over the last few days. You know, we can't criticize Nedved or this and that. I mean, everyone is due criticism as long as it's constructive and respectful. Um, you know, we're fans. We're fans that dedicate our time and money into this team, and we could. It doesn't make you less of a fan to offer criticism in a season where it's due. It's definitely due. So you did mention a few Juventus ex-Juventus names, so we can get into some of the pre-match comments by both coaches, and there's kind of indication within those comments of the starting lineups. So we can start with Semplici. He basically said that this is going to be a hungry Juventus considering their elimination from the Champions League, and we need to play a perfect game in order to get something from this, get a result from this game. Um, and they want to suffer as a team if they have to, and then exploit the spaces and hit them where it hurts. And in my opinion, I think that most teams, play in this approach against us, and they do find those spaces against us. Um, we often have those gaps, and we've seen it against Porto firsthand. And I think that, like we touched on earlier, how they're fighting for relegation. It could be a tricky game plan for Juve, as we know they often like to um, control the game and the possession, and it often and with our formation of going into the back three, at times we do see those gaps, and especially when we push up. And then he also mentioned that he's missing some players like Liko Yanis and Pavoletti due to disciplinary reasons. And I think Liko Yanis is having a decent season, and providing some nice width for them. And Pavoletti, he's an average player, but he offers something, I think different than Simeone. And he's been working well with João Pedro these past few games. And then they're missing Marco Rog and Sotil, who often come off the bench. So they have some lack of depth there. And then Pirlo also touches on our injury issues. Ramsey, every time he plays a second on the pitch, he ends up with an injury. So he's out again, unfortunately. Still really no concrete update on Dybala. It's again a maybe after the international break. Which we can get into, whatever that means as well. Buffon picking up an injury, and Demiral earlier this week picking up an injury, and Bentancur out with COVID. Pirlo also said that Chiellini may start from the beginning, and spoke about Kulusevski and changing his role a little bit and trying him in the midfield. Um, so first, what do we think about this Dybala saga? Um, I really just think that there's something weird going on here. And, we know like the extent of the injury from Ramsey, Arthur's injury when he was out these last few weeks. We got kind of daily updates and information on the extent of the injury and the actual, I don't know, physiology of the injury. Like, we don't really know anything about this apparent knee injury from Dybala, and he's basically taken the year off. So how do we feel about this? It just feels weird to me. It kind of, you start to think, is this all a part of some tension between the two parties? Someone refusing to play due to a contract. Is there any of those thoughts going in your mind?
So I think it's a physical issue. I don't think that his contract has anything to do with it. When he on his day, he's probably our most talented player, our most gifted. I think it's still an issue from that Lyon game last season where he went off injured, and it's like he never fully recovered from that. We haven't seen a fully fit Dybala for a long time now. Hopefully, because this will affect the contract negotiations, will we see a fully fit Dybala again uh, going forward, or is this a neglecting issue going forward? Will this be a repetition of what we will see from now on? Can his body still uh, give him the ability to play at 100%? And that's a question that will be asked when negotiating the contract as well.
Now,
So
do
that's
you
the point,
do
yeah.
you think do you think that player is worth 13 mil a season in that case, right? Those, like, the numbers I guess circulating is not as high as 15 as we once saw, but 10 plus bonuses going up to 12, 13. I mean, for me that's a lot. Even when Dybala, was available for us, is he even worth that much at that point when he was available? Um, I still think that he hasn't shown enough consistency for numbers like that. And then if you have Ronaldo on an insane salary and you give this guy nearly half of what Ronaldo is making, what happens to the other team, like the other missing pieces, right? Which is what all the Juventus fans are complaining about. But yet they're okay with Dybala getting this amount of, this salary, but then screaming about Ronaldo's salary and screaming about how we still don't have a midfield. So it's kind of, we get it that Dybala is your favorite. Like, I mean, that's how I see it. Because any other argument that you're making about the team and the Mercato kind of contradicts, giving this guy close to 15 mil and being, for it.
Let me just take down all my Dybala shirts. One second.
Hey, let me tell you, I have bought Dybala on the back of my jersey on every single season, since he's joined, because I really thought that, can this guy, mean something to me as much or close to Del Piero. And at first it felt that way. So I'm in no uh like no way I'm a Dybala hater, but it's just the way, I guess, that we're so reactionary on social media just makes you wonder, if you're saying this, then this kind of contradicts what you're saying.
I completely agree with Georg there. This is a physical issue, and I even saw when I don't remember which game, but he was warming up during the halftime break, and he had this tape around his knee. I think I never seen so much tape around somebody's knee. So there clearly is something going on there. But I had my friend Daniel on for a chat about injuries. He's a doctor, so he knows his stuff, physician. But he also said this is a very specific injury, so it's gonna take some time, but it's not as serious as Arthur, because with Arthur you have either you just inject stuff and you'll be fine, but if you're gonna take long-term stance on it, then you just do the surgery. With Dybala, there is no surgery needed. There's just something different there. So this is a physical issue. In regards to his salary, well, it might sound controversial, but I think it all started with Cristiano arriving. Once he arrived and those 30 million was slapped on his wage bill, then the bar has been raised. If you get 30 million to Cristiano, why can't I have at least half? So, and then the next person will ask, well, if Dybala is earning 15, why can't I get 10? And then there will be a chase for more money rather than playing for the club. As I said previously, the more money you get, the more arrogant you become. I'm not saying Cristiano is an arrogant player, but you know what I mean. It's just you're thinking more about the economy rather than actual football. And with Dybala, of course, we all have Dybala because he was supposed to be our new Del Piero. He was supposed to be, and he showed signs. He showed signs that he can actually become something great. However, the way he plays, the way he gets tackled, he is tend to be injury prone. It's just facts. And well, his contract is expiring next season. So either we re-sign him. Personally, I think we will re-sign him, but I think it will be on the deadline. It's like almost during this summer. I think that we'll decide either sell him or re-sign. I think that will re-sign him. But very good point from.
I think you need to re-sign him regardless, right? Because you don't want him to go for nothing, at the end of the last year, right? So.
But there has to be something more in that contract. Like you get 10, but then if you stay healthy, if you score that amount of goals, then you'll get 12, for example. So there got to be some additional bonuses there. So this is what I think is they're working around. And with Dybala taking a sabbatical, I don't know. It's just I don't believe it's just that simple. I think there are injuries, and we saw once he played for us without Cristiano, he was also very out of form, out of shape, out of form. Wasn't even interested at times. So yes, there's also mental issue there. And last point I want to make is that last year he was our MVP. Officially, some fans might disagree. Personally, I voted for Cristiano, but yeah, that's my take. But Dybala was MVP last season. He is MIA this season, which is also kind of plays into defending Pirlo and his style of play, his way of playing, because when he was appointed, he expected Dybala to be there at least somewhere during the season. Nobody expected him to be out for the whole year. So we can, of course, it's not an excuse, but it's a small explanation as to why we play the way we play.
I'd argue that Dybala is not even a Pirlo type player.
We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. He's never played.
But you do know that regardless of Dybala being there, at the start of the season, Pirlo wanted a real striker up front, to accompany Ronaldo. So, and then when he did play up top with Ronaldo, he didn't fit in up there. Him and Kulusevski were, taking each other's space over and over again. And Ronaldo's obviously not a number 9. So it just for Pirlo's formation of a 4-4-2 and to get the best out of Ronaldo, I know that they did well together last year under Sarri, but it was just them two, brilliant, like moments of brilliance. It wasn't really a link up play that was developing. It was mostly, let's hope that they do something spectacular, and that's how we kind of got through last season because they did. And I think it made it seem like they were, a good fit together. But let's be real and just say it how it is, that Ronaldo benefits from a player like Mandzukic, Benzema, Morata, and like with Portugal, he isn't even the center guy either. They try to get bodies like Andre Silva in there. He needs a big center forward along with him. So I would argue that Dybala has, the injury has hurt because of our depth, and I think that we missed him because of our depth more than him actually influencing, within a starting lineup. And that may be controversial, but with Pirlo's style of play, it's clear that Morata needs to be on the field.
If I could add something, I think that changing manager each season really hurt Dybala as well. Allegri's last season, he wasn't a good fit. He was playing out on the wing, and then Sarri came in and he put him into his system, and he worked. He was working quite well. He won the MVP, as Roman mentioned, and then Sarri left, and then a new system had to be adapted. So the change of manager each season doesn't really help the player and his development as well. So that's another issue that could be mentioned about Dybala.
Even under Sari though, do you guys feel like, he was still kind of second fiddle in the biggest games, and Sari still preferred Higuain over Dybala when it came down to it. Um, so I mean, as much as you mentioned, the different coaches, um, how many coaches can a player go through to fit into something? I mean, he hasn't fit in Argentina either. Um, so I mean, like it's hard to defend him at that point with all of these systems and coaches that he's personally gone through. I just feel like if you're a good player, a world class player, getting close to 15 mil, you can't depend on a system. You have to be good, no matter what system. Insigne is a kind of player who's like a system player. Um, and and so like if Dybala is trying to establish himself and as one of the best in the world which I think that's the goal, with this talk of salary and his demands originally as well, you can't be a system player.
For me personally, it's more of a situation which could have been very very different had it been had Dybala been available throughout the season. I think we would have seen something different than whatever we are seeing now. For example, Kulusevski might have not given that many chances had Dybala been available. Maybe we see something different. It's all speculation. We don't know because Dybala has been injured. And very good point again, because three seasons, three different coaches. Cristiano arriving didn't help Dybala. However you want to, you really like it or not, because the play goes through Cristiano. Dybala likes to roam. Dybala likes that right flank cutting inside, and those two can work together, cannot work together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't last season. Let's face it. But I mean, to conclude, I think we will resign him, and I really hope that will be a financially sustainable re-signing, because we cannot just throw out money, especially during this season.
Agreed. And I think we can all agree that Dybala won't be in the lineup against Cagliari. So let's see who is. So we start off with Sky's reported lineup in a 4-4-2 for Juve, with Szczesny in goal, Quadrado, Bonucci, Chiellini, Danilo, McKennie, Arthur, Rabiot, and Chiesa, and then Ronaldo, Morata. In contrast, Di Marzio put out a predicted lineup with Szczesny, Danilo, De Ligt, Bonucci, Alexandro, Chiesa, Arthur, Rabiot, McKennie, Kulusevski, Ronaldo. Um, so a few changes there, most notably the back line and Kulusevski instead of Morata. So how would you guys line up? I personally like the first look better. Um, I would be okay with Quadrado, Bonucci, Chiellini, and Danilo lining up at the back. And then I think it's safe to say McKennie, Arthur, Rabiot, and Chiesa are gonna make up our midfield four. I can see, because Pirlo mentioned Kulusevski, I can see him, being a part of that four, maybe instead of McKennie and Chiesa going to the left side. Um, but I think Morata and Ronaldo need to be up front.
I think we will see Kulusevski in the middle, and the thing is that it's not as straightforward as many might think. I would go with the first lineup, but given that we went the full 120 minutes and the midweek, it's not as straightforward because you need to see the condition of the players and the fatigue that sets in now. So there might be some changes. Personally, I would start Delict, but because Bonucci played midweek, I would start Delict and Chiellini at the back, but it depends on a lot of factors going into this match, fitness-wise, so we will have to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll make it even simpler. I don't think it really matters who we start at the back. I think we are good enough anyway to go and to get past those guys. Remember, the only thing is, of course, the fitness. Is Delict ready for the 90? Is Bonucci ready for the 90? Chiellini, is he ready? He's never ready for the 90. Let's be honest. We'd be surprised if he stays for the 90 minutes. Danilo, who's been exceptional, strangely enough, this season, starts, and where he starts, well, that is also a good discussion to make, whether he will start as a CDM or as a central defender, right back, left back. Very versatile player, and both, I think, yes, both Sky and Di Marzio are saying that Danilo will start. So yeah, unfortunately, Buffon will not play. That's a shame because I was hoping he would play.
Yeah, I mean, we can probably talk about that whole Chesney situation in the Porto game, and whether it was his fault or not. Um, so I agree that having Buffon between the sticks is always a good thing, especially if Bonucci and Chiellini are right in front of him. I just feel like the leadership amongst those three, and say what you want about Bonucci, but when the tandem of those few are together, it really feels like more secure, and you feel confident at the back. Um, to me, I really hope that uh, Sandro doesn't play. I think he could use a break. He's been playing a lot lately, and you question his fitness. I feel like when you're actually using your eyes and watching him, game in and game out, he just looks, in a decline from what we know that he can be. So I really hope that Quadrado and Danilo flank the lines, because I just feel like those are our best fullbacks. For Cagliari, you mentioned Roman, some of the Juve guys. So I think
There was only one.
I think they're expecting Asamoah to play as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so he's always a tricky player, a good rotational player. Um, so we'll see. We'll keep tabs on him. They're gonna look to play in a 3-5-2, with Asamoah in there, Nainggolan, like you said, who will never join Juventus because that's the easy way out apparently, um, and Rugani beside Godin in the making up the back three as well, um, and Joao Pedro and Simeone up top, and so Joao Pedro has 13 goals and 2 assists for this Cagliari side, and Cagliari in general have, I think, 29 goals for. So definitely skewed towards this one player, um, kind of carrying them above the relegation line, and his partner Simeone with 5 goals and 1 assist. To me, those two are the ones to watch, along with Nainggolan, just because of how much he hates Juve, and then the factor of the 2x Juve players as well. Um, and Godin and Rugani are pretty good in the air, so I feel like those two players need to be watched on the corners, and set pieces in general, because I can see Rugani just scoring a header against us. Um, but in terms of our lineup, I mean, it's safe to say that Chiesa is one of, if not the best Juventus player this season. And I mean, you can debate that, but it's safe to say that he's going to be a key player in this match. Um, you know, let's hear your thoughts on any key players in this match, or obviously in this season in general so far for Juve, and what this lineup can do against this Cagliari team.
my opinion, João Pedro is a key player for them. I think he has been overlooked for a couple of seasons now. He's been a very good player for them, performing consistently each season. Godin is an experienced leader in that Cagliari backline, so he will um, help them in their relegation battle. And for us, I think he has us undoubtedly. I tweeted out this week that, in my opinion, he is the player of the season so far for us. He fit so well for a new signing. He settled in very quickly, and the talent is evidently there to see. So he's my MVP for this season. And the way he elevated his game from Fiorentina to Juventus, that motivational factor was incredible to see. I never doubted Chiesa's talent. It was evident even at Fiorentina, but coming to Juventus is never easy, so seeing him just slot in that lineup and strengthen our wings, he is my key player in this match.
Yeah, instead of being very boring and say Chiesa as well, I'd say Arthur actually, because if he starts, given he starts, because I think without Arthur, we are a completely different team, especially in the midfield. So he will be key for us tomorrow offensively. Whether Bonucci starts or not, well, if Bonucci starts as well, it will be added bonus going forward. But without Bonucci, if Bonucci doesn't start and Arthur doesn't start, well, then it'll be interesting to see what comes up out of this hat. But for me, it's Arthur and Chiesa, of course. But I was wondering. I sat and watched the Porto game. I was sitting in there and thinking, how much more can this guy run? He was insane. He has the stamina from another world. It's incredible. And when he was subbed off, he was even like, come on, man, I can still provide. I am still fit enough to play, continue the full 120, which is astonishing. And he has played a lot recently because of Quadrado being injured and out with COVID. So he has played a lot, but it doesn't seem that he complains that much. Of course, you won't if you play for Juve on a regular basis. But yeah, I like the kid. But for me, it's Arthur.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that was a questionable substitution, I guess, as well. But we don't know the fitness of the players as the coaching staff does. Um, but I'd agree with Arthur. You know, we're a different side with him, and you know, he's the one and only player who can play this type of football. You know, he is quite clearly. You know, if you plop him in that Barcelona team with Xavi and Iniesta, you know, Messi, all these guys in their prime, you know, when they won the treble, he would fit completely right in. You know, he gives you the ball and wants it back right away. You know, he can do that for hours and hours, and then he'll just turn and start to penetrate through the middle and provide the width and cycle the ball. So I feel like he's the only player on this team who can actually play this type of football, um, and it shows when he's on the field, along with Bonucci being very important. And the importance of ball playing defenders in this modern football. I mean, if you look at Man City and all the guys that they've spent tons of money on just in the center back position for this reason, um, you can quite clearly tell. And with Bayern Munich playing Alaba so often as a center back, it's to provide this type of play. Um, so as much as we, or not we, because I wouldn't consider myself a part of this group, but as much as those who rip on Bonucci, they do, he offers something that he's the only one in our backline that can offer this characteristic. So um having him and Arthur both on the field, as we saw against Porto, benefited us a lot. So I'm right there with Roman. If Arthur doesn't play or if Bonucci doesn't play, like one or the other need to play, and it shows. So last time out, earlier this season, we sealed a 2-0 win against Cagliari, and Ronaldo got both goals. And it was a dominant performance, nearly 70% of the possession and 0 shots on target for Cagliari. Do we expect the same approach in this match. We often see Juventus try to control majority of the possession and play this kind of game, pushing our center backs forward, especially, when we go into that three at the back, Danilo pushing forward, kind of like an extra midfielder often. Um, do we expect this type of game, going through the flanks and providing crosses through Quadrado, for example? He provided 12 key passes during the week and, was whipping balls in over and over again against Porto. Is this the approach that we take? You don't really want to see us sit back against Cagliari, but I feel like this approach can also hurt us, and I feel like it has in the past.
I think we'll go with the same approach to this game as we do many games, really. I wanted to add as well with Artur, what you get is that we often say that Rabiot and Bentancur can play together in midfield, and with Artur, I think Rabiot looks much more better and comfortable in that midfield role with Artur, and the same goes for Bentancur. So, in terms of approach, I think we will go with an attacking approach as we did in the first game. We'll try to control the game, we'll try to set the tempo, and I think that's the I think we played well against Porto as well, all things considered. And we will see those whip balls go into the box, and I think that's the way we will try and approach Cagliari.
Personally, I think it really depends who will start up front. If it is Kulusevski, then we will see much more width. If it is Morata, I think there will be a mix because Morata is also the guy who will drop deep, receive the ball, and play it out. So we will see a mixture. I think it will be more unpredictable if Morata is in there. With Kulusevski, I fear, and it is my concern that with Kulusevski in there, Chiesa, if Chiesa plays on the right, but he won't because Quadrado will be playing. But if Chiesa starts on the right, Kulusevski and Chiesa always collide. It seems like they want the same space. Kulusevski will, of course, cut inside because he's a left footer, but Chiesa will go to the byline and actually cross or challenge. But at default, I think it will be much more unpredictable with Morata up there. Question is, of course, Artur again. If Artur plays or not. If Artur plays, we'll see also unpredictability. If not, there will be out wide, 100%.
Just some things to, I guess, consider. We have 51 goals for this season, but compared to the leaders up top and teams like Atalanta, we struggle to create chances, and obviously chances lead to goals. So we often enjoy the possession, but there are times where we enjoy all this possession and then we finally get a shot on target in like the 70th minute. So I feel like um, we need to really take our chances. And I feel like it's always a struggle with me and my predictions because I always feel like we have 21 goals against. So I'm never really worried defensively. Yet teams always find a way to nick one. We don't get scored on a lot, but we often tie games 1-1. Or end up just winning 2-1, 3-1. So there's always just one goal against us, and so that's the fear. And I feel like any team that goes against us, I feel like has that hope that they'll wait for their chance, and they can nick one against us. And it kind of worries me in this sense against bottom teams as well. And we've struggled already to finish off these teams like Benevento and Crotone in the same sense, I guess. And so I think Cagliari, might be able to get their chance against us, especially like I said when we go into that back three. However, a back three on their end as well, favors Juve because there's often holes within that. And we saw against Lazio that we countered them on their counter. So and their back three, often lets Lazio down. It's just not a great formation or setup in my opinion. Unless you're like playing like Antonio Conte this year, he finally understood, to sit back because his tactics only get him so far. And he's just been playing that type of game, absorbing the pressure and just killing them on the counter, which I feel like Juve should have been playing all along. Um, but it's kind of too late to do anything about that. But you saw, I don't know if you guys watched the game against Inter against Parma. Parma is a small team also fighting for the relegation battle, and Conte just sat back against them and killed them on the counter and let them have their half chances. Not a lot of people like this style of play, which I guess is fair, but at the end of the day, it is all about results, especially in Serie A, which is a tactical league, and I feel like is pretty balanced, especially this season. But something to look for is Cagliari enjoying most of their play on the right side. They play, most of their attacking play coming at 40% on that right side. So I do stick with what I say in Alexandro hopefully not being on that left side for us. I'd feel much better with Danilo there, and Quadrado I think just needs to play. And you'll never see. I don't think we've ever lined up with Chiesa on the same side of Quadrado, just because of the liability there defensively. So I think that lineup kind of automatically puts Chiesa on the other side, but he's proven that he can play on both sides. Um, and it'll be interesting if Kulusevski does play, then he's automatically on that right side as well. So having said all of that, what are the predictions?
I'm going for 3-0.
Wow.
Ronaldo, Morata, and probably Kulusevski goal. I'm going on
3-0. Wow. Well, 3. I don't know. 2-0. I just don't see us conceding. They know very well that Joao Pedro is their danger man. Simeone hasn't scored in 2021. Last time he scored, let me check. I just saw this the stats. He scored against Bologna 31st of October. So, I mean, Joao Pedro is their danger man, and I think we can keep a clean sheet. 2 goals. Well,
There's no
that'd be crazy.
Demiral. There's no Demiral to give away the penalty for Joao Pedro to score. So
Well,
that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. All right, let's go for Cristiano, PK, and Rabiot. Yeah.
I'm going 2-0 as well, and I'm going Ronaldo and Chiesa. They're just the hot hands and our most important and lethal players. They can kind of make things out of nothing, and as long as Chiesa's on the field, you get a sense that he'll feed something into Ronaldo. And I feel like especially on that left side, when they're on the same side, I can see Chiesa kind of taking it down the wing and try to get something going for Ronaldo. And Inter I think Inter's playing before us tomorrow as well. So let's see if our neighbors can do anything for us. I think they're playing Torino, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they're playing before us.
Yeah, so I mean, let's not hold on to that. We got to get the job done ourselves. I think it's about time to, start taking our accountability and responsibility for our own results. When you're dropping points against teams like Benevento and Crotone at the beginning of the season, then it's hard to blame anyone else or expect anyone else to do us favors if we're not doing them ourselves. So I just want to end off this little pre-match with your favorite CagliariJuventus memory. I'm not sure if you can think of anything on the spot, but for me, it had to be, the first title of this magnificent run of 9 in a row under Antonio Conte. In it wasn't a great match by any means that we played, although we won 2-0. Vucinic got us on the scoreboard early. And a lot can be said about Vucinic himself being a very inconsistent player, and you kind of love hate relationship with him. But he opened the scoring that night, and obviously the celebrations of Marotta and Conte at the end of the game. Embracing each other, all the fans running on the pitch, and that number 30 title. For me,
I cried that evening, by the way.
I mean, I don't doubt it. And on the other side, it was Milan Inter playing at the same time, and it was like at the time the score here in Canada had both of them split screen at that point, and it was it was just an unreal feeling. Me, my brother, and my dad watching, and that game was a thriller on the other side as well.
Inter did us a favor that night, didn't they?
I think
They beat
yeah,
Milan 4-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
yeah,
Something
that
like
is
that.
that's
true. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, so that I don't know if anything can top that. So where were you guys during this match? Watching at home?
Yeah, well, I was at home watching it, and it was emotional because looking back, the years prior, actually, we went through some hell, didn't we? And it was tough to support post Calciopoli, obviously. It was tough being a supporter watching some dreadful football and humiliating results, really. And we actually weren't in Europe that year because we didn't finish in the top seven the prior season with Del Neri. So it helped us in a way, but seeing Juventus finish in mid-table, that was something he never thought he would see in a million years. So, and it was tough being watching the football we played and the players we had really post Calciopoli, the Felipe Melo years, the Diego Ribas years. They were tough, but the payoff was great. We went the season unbeaten as well, so that was an added bonus. Taking the league off Milan, Inter were starting to drop off as well. So all in all, the payoff was great, and that match really culminated the years of hurt.
So
Un-
you guys were cheering for Inter or what that night?
Sort of.
No, 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 no. Never, never, never. It was unbeaten season actually, so it was that was I was actually what my biggest worry. I was like, we're gonna win this eventually because we were so good, and I was fearful for that loss. Away to Cagliari, it's always tough, but yeah, 2-0, and the fans and this on the pitch, yeah, it was great fun. Yeah.
All right, guys. I want to thank you guys for coming on, and hopefully this is maybe full circle. We go into this Cagliari game, and we get some help from other people as well in our push to the Scudetto, like that time in 2012. We won't be cheering for Inter this time around to help us. Um, Unfortunately, we have to cheer for our other rivals in Torino to help us through this one, and Milan having a big match as well against Napoli. So it's a good opportunity to lessen the gap between us and Milan for sure. So we'll see what happens with that. But thank you guys for doing this pre-match with me, and it's always fino alla fine, regardless. So let's push forward.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.